Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Tuesdays in the Shop. This time around, you have me, Yvette, and also Andrea. Jen is taking the night off this week. She's actually visiting California. Lucky her.
Yeah.
This week, we are talking about something a little bit different than our usual. A lot of times we talk about what fabric came in or like what new kit we have or whatever. This time around, we're talking about tools that are not actually explicitly for fabric. These are tools that are meant to help you pick colors and put colors together and come up with color ways and color variations. And this is one of the feedback that we get the most from our customers is that people are scared to put colors together. They don't want to make a mistake. This is why we sell so many kits, right? Because we already did the work for you. Those fabrics go together. You know from the picture how it's going to come out. There's like no risk when you're making a kit, right? But sometimes you do want to do something unique that nobody else has ever made before. Or maybe you're trying to coordinate with a room, or like you're giving this to someone who's going off to college and they have a favorite color or whatever it is. So a lot of times we all, as quilters, we do want to make our own unique colorway, maybe make something that you never saw before. And that's where people tend to get stuck. And if you don't know, we do run a year-long class on understanding color specifically for quilters. It's Andrea's Color Journey. And I will put a link to that also in the comments if you want to check that out. But today we are talking about these two new tools that, well, I don't know how new they are, but they're new to us, right?
Yeah.
Like, when did you learn about the Essential Color Deck, Andrew? It was like a couple months ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you're
yeah, maybe around the
today.
end of last year, maybe 6 months, something like
6
that.
months, maybe. Yeah. So there's two of them. The one that Andrea has with her is called the Essential Color Deck, and the one that I have with me is called the Sarah Renae Color Cube. Let me show you what it looks like. Oh, I forgot that you had one. Yeah. Let me show you what it looks like. So the package, yeah, the packaging itself is really cool.
I know. I could just put this on my shelf. And
Yeah. So Sarah Renae is this, I don't even know what you call her. I was going to say influencer, but that, who knows? No one likes that word, right? And this is one of her products. She calls this, what?
It's even on the bottom. It's just all 6 sides. Beautiful.
So she calls this thing her Color Cube, and you can see why. And there's actually 2 of them. I'm holding up collection 2. Andrea's holding up collection 1. And the point of this is that all artists, whether you're drawing or painting or doing sculpture or who knows what, or for us, quilting and putting fabrics together, or maybe you're doing embroidery. When you're starting a new project, you often don't know exactly what you want to do. And you might have a pattern picked out, or you might have like, oh, I definitely want to use fuchsia or something along those lines, but you don't know the whole thing. So what she's done is she's put together these cards. Oh, my Zoom is kind of crap.
Yeah, right, your background.
Let me take off my blur. I'm going to take my blur off.
My lighting isn't very good, but so this is just one. She has, each box has 250 of these cards that have a beautiful image, and then on the back she tells you what the colors are, what the those are hex codes, right?
Yes. So depending on what you're going to do, right, these codes here, if you're making like a website, these codes are really useful. For us quilters, the codes are not at all
if
useful.
You're putting it into Illustrator, if you're doing a design in Illustrator or something like that.
Oh, that's a good point.
Hex codes in for that too. So that gives you
what about pre-quilt? What if they were using pre-quilt? Can they put
I don't
hex codes
know.
in?
I bet you can, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the cool thing about these is that they're really analog. So for those of you who like writing on paper, like Andrew's nodding, right? She's the analog out of us. You literally just flip through the box and come up with some, look at whatever it is. I'm just going to pick a random one.
Yeah, I just pulled a couple that I liked, but they're all gorgeous.
They're all completely different. And it gets you kind of unstuck when you don't really know where to go next, you literally, you could just flip through these, and at some point you're like, oh, this feels like something. This feels like I should maybe think about this, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, you can go wherever you're going, right? You can pick fabrics and you can put them up, like literally just hold them up against the side. Also on the back, like Andrea was showing you, the colors that are on the front are all the way to the edge on the back. So that makes it really easy if you have a piece of fabric. I should just grab a piece of fabric. So like I have a piece of fabric and I'm going to check if it works. Literally, you just put it right next to it and you see. The other edge of the card has variations on these colors. So up the middle is the same colors that are on the right, but then on the two sides, one of these is a 20% tint and the other one is a 20% shade. So that means for one, they added brown, the other one, they added gray. So wait, did I say that wrong?
It's not black and white?
I thought it was brown and gray.
I should have read the introduction. I don't know. Let's find out real quick.
Yeah, okay. So she's going to clarify whether I said that backwards.
I'll figure this out.
But the cool thing about this is that it gives you shades that are variations of this color. This is one of the hardest things for us quilters to do in general, is to come up with a not flat color palette. What you don't really want to do is have every color in your mix of colors be the same saturation, be the same shade, be the same contrast, right? Because then it ends up looking kind of mushy, or it kind of looks like a clown car. It's just like too bright. There isn't enough nuance. So when you start here, these already aren't all exactly the same. But if you pull these and you feel like, oh, I need a couple more lights or a couple more darks, you can then go to these variations. So pretend you want more of this, you could pull all three of these and mix that into this group, and that's just giving you more colors. All of these cards have 6 colors in them, but we don't always have only 6 colors that we need. So if pretend you need 8 colors, you can add 2 of these variants. Is it 5? No, it's 6.
It's 6. So they're not all the same then? Because the ones I'm looking at only have 5. I wonder if box 1 is only 5 and box 6 is, or box 2 is all
This 6. One has 5, this one has 6. So this tells you how close, how new this product is. No, one is 5, one is 6. So I said at the beginning of this video that we all just discovered this thing, and I'm so excited about it. But you can tell from this, I didn't know they didn't all have 6, and Andrea didn't know they didn't all have 5. So there you go. I think they all have either 5 or 6, but we could be wrong about that. What was I saying? Oh, so pretend you pick this one and it has 5, but you actually need 7 colors. You flip it to the back and you can pick darker or lighter shades of any of these colors to round out your palette. And they are going to all go together because that's the whole point of this. Andrea is going to hold up one of the digital pieces. So this color cube that we said, we have the first group and the second group that are physical cubes. But there's also a PDF digital version of this that you can buy optionally. Technically, you can buy either the Cube 1, the Cube 2, or the digital, or you can buy all 3. I bought all 3 because they go together. The PDF side, which Andrea just printed one of them out so you could see, the PDF has got everything in it, every single one of these colorways, and you can search by either the color number, you can search by the theme, the keyword that's included.
Colors.
Yep. So
and on pretend this one, it has not only the hex codes, but it also has RGB and CMYK.
Cool. So like depending on what you're doing, you might need those codes. But what I was going to say is what's nice about having it as a PDF is that you can more easily flip through them and then go back to, it's searchable. And then once you kind of narrow down ones that you might be interested in, then you go back to your box, you physically pull them from the box, and then you keep going, right? Because literally flipping through these one by one is kind of tedious. But if you open the PDF, you can quickly find what you're looking for. And why Andrea printed this one out is because you'll see at the bottom, technically these cards are intended for, what's the right word for?
Painters,
like
artists,
yeah,
visual medium.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what the right word is, but they're
Sure.
intended for people who work with crayons or pencils or markers or
Paint,
whatever,
yeah.
right? So part of her PDF offering has all of these things broken down by certain popular brands of pencils and pens and like, I don't know, all that art supply stuff. So like if you use a certain brand of marker or pencil, she actually has figured out which color in that range is which color inside each of these palettes. But for us, our quilters, she didn't figure out like which Robert Kaufman
She
solid
didn't
is
match
which, right?
Corona.
No,
Yeah.
she's not a quilter,
Our
right?
job.
So what we would do, we would print out the thing that Andrea has, and then we would cut swatches from our fabrics. And they don't have to be solids, right? Like she's shown it in solid, but there's no reason you have to pick only a solid. You could pick a print that has that same color, cut a swatch, stick it on your paper, put a note about what it is. And then you know when you're going forward, you could archive these so you know when you go back, like which project had which color. I think this part is really, really useful, that you can print this out and then fill it in. Should we show a couple more? Or actually, I would like to show you a poll that I did. I picked a colorway out of my box that is a colorway I normally would never pick. And then I went into my embroidery thread stash and I picked threads. So let's put that up so you can see. Basically, this is like a real life use case for using these cards. This is the card that is in there. I have here to hold up to show you in my little window, but obviously it's in the big picture too. And you can see that there's more threads on this picture than there are colors on my card. And that's because I use that shade thing on the back to pick a couple of variations of the colors. So you'll see that there's 2 coral reds, and in the picture they look very similar, but in real life, the one that's floss that's laying down is a little bit darker. And so it's like 2 variations of that coral color. Is that the right word for that red? I think it is coral, right?
Sure.
And then there's 2 variations of the brown. So at the bottom, you see this kind of like golden color, which pretty closely matches the rightmost color. But on above it, you see like a medium and a more like dull brown. And those are variations of the brown that's second from the right, which is kind of like a chocolatey brown, which you then also see at the bottom. I have a spool of Aura Floss, and then I have a hank of these hand-dyed chocolate brown. So the 2 on the bottom pretty closely match the swatch. And then the 2 in the middle towards the top are variants of that color. So depending on how many colors you need for your project, you are growing the palette by adding variations of each of the colors that are in your swatch card. Do you think this came out pretty good, Andrew? Like,
I
pretty
do.
successful?
I mean, those aren't really my colors either, but that
No.
looks really good.
And that was why I picked this one, because I would never myself have picked out this colorway, right? But the picture is beautiful. And there's something about that pop of the coral red that is
And
very
that
enticing.
blue in the chart. I don't know if it's navy or charcoal, but
The
just
blue
enough
one,
blue
yeah.
to give it a
It's
little
more
bit
like a
of cool.
midnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
it really works together.
yeah, I think it would be really interesting to stitch this up into like a stitch sampler, or
Yeah.
maybe if you're doing like alphabet or something along those lines where you have
Mm-hmm.
not as much representational stuff, right? It's also, by the way, in this picture here, I'm going to mouse over. Can you see if I mouse over? Hold on.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Okay, so see these little flowers here? They are like a bright fuchsia.
Oh.
And I had to resist adding fuchsia in here because everyone knows fuchsia is like my favorite color. I'm wearing it, right? But I found in my stash of random threads this it's actually more like a purpley gray. I'm gonna unshare this so you can see better. Make myself bigger. So see this? It kind of looks gray and mauve and whatever. And then when I put this with everything else, I was like, actually, this looks kind of cool. So just because it's not on the card doesn't mean you can't do it, right?
Definitely.
It's a jumping off point. If you pull it and then you have this idea to make it better, go ahead. There are no rules. There is no quilt police here, or I guess color police.
either. Like if you think it looks good, then it's good.
Yeah, exactly. For embroidery floss, if you're picking embroidery floss, it really helps to have a stash. Let's be honest. And if you think about the texture of the different threads, like one of these is like a rayon. Most of them are perlate cotton, so they have a good sheen to them. The embroidery flosses are more matte. So mixing all those finishes up gives you even more interest, even though you're sticking to the same color palette. You're adding depth, you're adding character to what you're doing by mixing the kinds of threads, if you're going to do it for embroidery. Does anyone have any questions about this concept, this color cube concept? Look at this one. How beautiful is this card?
Yeah, it's I don't know if you guys look at like color palettes on Pinterest, but this is exactly what is all over Pinterest is
a
photograph and then the palette to go with it. But this is like a more one, it's not on Pinterest, so you can actually like take this with you somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's a more professional and a little bit more thought out. And more useful, I think. Like, I think the ones on Pinterest can be a good starting point, but something like this is going to be more useful. And the fact that, you know, she's done the work to pull out the colors, and because there's other colors in here too. Like each of these pictures, the one that Yvette just showed, she didn't include fuchsia, even though it was in the photograph. It probably threw off the balance, or that wasn't quite right. So that work has been done with these, which you can't guarantee has been done with everything flooding Pinterest and Instagram. And the fact that you've got hex codes, RGB, CMYK. Those of you that don't work on a computer, that might not be as valuable, but for people that do, it's super valuable.
And she means like for her, because she does a ton of design on computer, right? So yeah, that part is very useful. I was going to say online, you can find some tools where you like upload an image and it'll pull colors out of it. So this is kind of like that, but you don't have to first find your picture. Somebody else has curated 500 pictures for you. And she has made a point of having a wide variety of colorways, right? It's not like they all look like something Andrew would pick, or they all look like something I would pick. There's all kinds of different things.
There's definitely a lot in here that I would pick, but
but then there's stuff like this that you wouldn't pick.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Or like this one to me is like way too Miami, like I would not do this, but somebody would like this, right?
Yeah,
like,
for some applications that would be perfect. If you're making a quilt for a 5-year-old girl, boom, perfect.
Also, for this one in particular, because these are so loud, even though they're not all the same saturation, like this one is definitely less saturated than this one, right? When you flip it over and you have all these varieties, this makes it even more interesting. So like I wouldn't work with this palette here, but I probably would work with a mix of some of this, like some of these more off colors. They're not as much in your face. And just knowing that that's a variation that you could do, starting with this, but you end up with something much more sophisticated, right? Like literally, you could just pick all the darker ones.
Sure.
And that's a much more sophisticated palette.
Yes. Yeah, I think these are great. I love the fact that it's digital and paper. As Yvette said, I am a paper person. I do like to have things that I could touch and feel and look at all at once, or take with me somewhere. And taking this to your quilt store or into your closet, wherever you keep your stash, is going to be easier than bringing your laptop or your phone. And these colors don't change. That's the other thing. The
That's such a good point.
And on your screen is not always the same. So if you look at it on your laptop, it might look one way. You look at it on your phone, it might look a different way.
That's a real point. So if you're starting in the PDF and you narrow down the ones you care about, once you pull them out of the deck, then you can really see them, and you might immediately dismiss a couple because the virtual version of it looks slightly different than the real version, right? That's a very good point. I hadn't even thought of
being able to search the digital version is pretty great though, because if you're looking for magenta, for instance, like it's going to take me a long time to go through all 250 of these in the
Right.
box to find all the ones that have magenta. But I can just do the keyword search on the digital and all of the magentas come right up. And then
Yep.
if I can just pull out the numbers of the ones that I like. So that is
Yeah.
a nice way for them to work together.
Can you show the printout again? What do the keywords look like?
So the keywords for this one are bright, spring, flowers, insects, nature. And the colors are magenta, blood orange, gold, camel, and hunter green.
That's really cool. So the keywords are more abstract than
Mhm.
just the color names, right? So the idea that like you might want spring to be your inspiration, you
Right.
open the PDF, you search for the word spring, and all the ones she's tagged as spring would pop up, and then you could
Yes.
sort through those and pick one. I love that idea.
Yeah, that is pretty handy. 'Cause,
Someone
there are
on
500 images, so going through them can be
Yeah.
time consuming.
Somebody's asking, does the numbering relate to any colors? I don't believe so.
It doesn't seem to. It
Okay.
seems pretty random.
Yeah, I don't. I think the numbers are just so that you can reference between colors
Yeah.
more easily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's your 123, the one you just showed. 125. You must have pulled out. I don't know where 124 is, but oh, here it is. So yeah. So all of these are very, very different.
Yeah, I think the colors don't have any meaning. They're just a
doesn't
way
seem
to
like it.
label each colorway so that you can
Yeah.
then find it again. Like I'm using colorway 200. I'm using colorway whatever it is, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So for full disclosure, we are not selling these directly. What we did is we signed up to be affiliates for Sarah Renae, who's the designer, because we think these are so cool. So when you scan this QR code and you go to our website, there's a description of the product, and then there's a link to her website. And if you do order from her through our QR code, we will get a commission of some type, which honestly, I don't even remember what it is, but just, for disclosure's sake,
Full disclosure, yeah.
this is not something we can buy wholesale. So like when we buy things wholesale to resell to you, we're ordering from some distributors like Checker or Moda. Like you probably heard of these companies before. This is not something we can buy wholesale. So that's why we did it this way, because we really believe in this product and we think it would really help people. We hear from customers all the time that they get stuck picking colors,
one of the
right?
most common things. And
Yep.
as Jen just commented, it's fun to use even for someone comfortable with colors. I don't always want to struggle through picking colors. And
Yeah.
he's totally right. I mean, I need something moody and warm and sunsetty. Boom.
Yep.
Done. There you go.
I mean, that one is like your favorite colorway ever, right?
Well, no, I wouldn't say favorite. It sells well. I'll say that.
Recently, I said to Andrew, we cannot do any more sunsets. Like, there's just so many things we have that
Yeah,
are in the
for a
sunset
while,
colorway. Like, there's too much.
We had a moratorium on purple for a while.
Yes, that too.
Probably still is true, but yeah. So you have so many options, and all the work is done. You can just go right from the card. It makes it so easy.
Yeah, I'm really having fun just flipping through them and like dreaming of projects. Everybody knows I don't actually make anything. I just plan it out and then like assign the work to somebody else at this point, right? But so yeah, this has
like
been really
just
fun.
taking this to your stash and pulling out color, playing with your fabric and putting stuff together. I do that all the time. I think
Oh, and you know what you just made me think of? For those of you who've gotten the color cards, so since we now carry the full line of confetti cotton solids and also the art gallery solids, we're now selling color cards for those too. So if you have the color cards, because you're a solid girl like we are, you can combine the color card with the palette, and then you'll know exactly which solid to order. I didn't even think of that until just now.
Yeah. So if I want,
let me make you bigger so that you
Imperial red. Imperial red.
Yeah, that looks good.
It might not match on your screen, but it does on mine. Tiger lily.
Let me see if I can make you bigger.
In real life, I should say.
It's looking a little weird. Yeah, I cannot seem to make you any bigger. That's funny.
Nobody wants to see me bigger anyway.
Well, it would
Yeah.
make more sense what you're holding up if it was bigger.
So that's, yeah, so it's really that easy. Then you just come in and pick out, you know, this, if you want to use solids, pick out the solids on the card or the ones closest to it. Marigold. We don't have a match for marigold, but we're pretty close. Raw gold, I would say, is pretty close.
Is it one of the variations in the back?
Oh, it could be. That gets a little bit greener. So yeah, that's actually, yeah, honey. Honey is pretty close.
Cool.
So I can, yeah, I don't know what you guys can see. But.
For some reason, your camera got darker now. It was so bright a minute ago, and now it's really dark.
Of course it is. So that just shows you how you can use these things together. And then I'm going to show you another tool that you can use as well. So this is one we've had, and we've shown some of you before. I've shown my Color Journey class, and we did a pre-order for it when we very first saw it. And we found out about that one before we found out about Color Cube. But when we're giving you this today, we started with Color Cube because Color Cube gives you these ideas for palettes, right? Whereas the Essential Color Deck, which is what Andrew is about to show you, works a little bit different. So we thought it would be better to start with the one that's like the inspiration one, the putting colors together one. And then now we're going to explain this other one, which is very useful in its different way. Right. So one of the ways you can use these together is if you pull out your card, and then maybe you don't have color cards at home. Maybe you don't have, a big stash, and you want to find these colors at your quilt store. Pulling out, so I've gone through the color deck and pulled out as close as I can matches to these colors. See if I can hold them all up at the same time. Well,
you need like 15 more fingers.
I do. Why don't we have more fingers? So something like that. Let's see the blue here.
So on the Essential Color Deck, each card is one color. Is that right?
Yes. So each card is a full color, which does make it a little bit easier. So if I choose out these AI fingers, yes, that's exactly what I need. So if I choose these colors off of my palette, I can then take these to the quilt store, and having a larger swatch can be easier to deal with.
Easier to match, yeah.
And then you don't have the other colors right next to it, because sometimes that can affect how you see the colors. But the other nice thing about this, well, one of the other nice things about this is you can change the percentages of the colors as well. So give me 1 second to just lay this out before I try to hold it up. So I'm going to have different amounts. I'm not going to have equal amounts of all of these colors in my quilt. So this way I can arrange my cards so that I only have a little bit of that brown and a little bit of the yellow, and the rest is blues and greens.
So you can picture how the distribution of the colors would look together.
So those two are my main colors. There's a little bit of this, or there's a good amount of this, and then just a little bit of those two. So that's cool, because the amounts of the colors are going to completely change how something looks.
Yeah. And on these, they're always equal amounts, right? So that's not realistic. Most of us are not using, 20% of this, 20% of that, 20% of that. We're picking a background color and then a foreground color and then a whatever, right?
Exactly.
It's a very good point.
And the quota quilts here in the background, I know a lot of you have been doing our sew along, which is great. And it was amazing when I was working with these in the computer, the exact same color palette, but just the colors in different positions is a completely different quilt. So, and each position is a different amount as well. So those amounts can really affect how your overall color palette and your quilt comes out. So that's something that you can do with these cards that you can't do with these cards.
Yep. So but show the back. No, the
So
back of the other one.
Oh, right. Yeah. So the other good thing about this one, on the back of each of these cards, they're all numbered. So I'll take the green one, for instance. So this is 2C. So this is hue 2. The C means it is a tint. It has white added to it. But then also it has the color wheel on the back. So it's telling me complementary colors, split complementary, triadic, analogous.
Yeah, and some of those terms get really annoying, but you
the
can
thing
just think
is-
of it as this helps you pick colors that go together. Like,
Exactly.
just ignore the
So-
details, right?
And I'm trying to see. So it doesn't look like, yeah, the other colors from this particular palette are not represented. Or they're not part of that triadic or blah blah blah. They still look good together. That's not. So if they're not part of one of these color wheel things, that doesn't mean it doesn't work. But the color wheel helps you make something that works if you don't know what to put with it. So this is telling me to pull out cards. So let's do a triadic. So I'd pull out cards. So this is already number 2. So I need 18 and 10, which I think I just happen to have right here. Oh, here's another 2. So I'll show you that one in a second. I don't have 18 and 10. And of course, my cards aren't in order because my daughter went through them. So they are all over the place. It is definitely more helpful to keep them in order. Can't find 10. Oh, here, it's probably in here. Is that it? Nope, that's 9. 10. 10. There we go, 10. So if I were going to put, so that was the one I started with. And then these are, let's see, this is the pure color. So that's 10A. So that's the pure color. This is 18F. So this has a lot of black added to it. It was just the first 18 that I found though. So those go together pretty well. And I actually like the fact that it's varying tints and shades. So this is your pure color. That's a tint. So that means it has white added to it. And this is a shade, which means it has black added to it. So you're getting some nuance, but you're also getting a pretty palette. So
it's giving me like exercise clothing.
Kind of, yeah. I could see that athletic wear or like camping gear. It's not exactly the color of my cup, but this is like a camping, an insulated camping cup. Yeah. So I could see how that would have translated very well.
And that shade of red, you often see like parkas and stuff, or
yes,
that
exactly.
Shade of red.
I mean, not that one. This is a color combination you see all the time everywhere. Yeah. I mean, it's not exact, but it's pretty close to some of what's in.
Right.
I've definitely used. So this is kind of like a cheater to tell you what's going to work with this color that you've pulled out.
Right. So somebody had asked in the comments, what happens if you need like 12 colors, right? How do you get that out of this concept where you only get 5 or 6? And you use the shades in the back, but also you can use the other color deck to jump off of. Like maybe you picked this color here and you want to jump off of this one. You go to the back of the color deck and that'll help you find other colors that will be harmonious with that color.
But also the tints and the shades. So like what you were just saying, actually. So I started with that one. So that was this card that I started with. But so this is only 5. So if I need 7 or 8, adding a shade of this color, it's not adding a new hue.
Right.
But it is giving you another color choice. So when you go to mix up your fabrics, they're still going to go together and it's still going to be pleasing to the eye. Let's see if I can find, so 9, try to find a dark blue that might go with it. 8.
I put the QR code up for the color deck, and this is something we can buy wholesale and list on our website. So if you scan that QR code, you'll go to our website where we're actually taking pre-orders for it again because we were sold out. So we're putting an order together.
They are on the way.
Yeah. So if you order it, pretend you order it today, it'll probably ship within the next week or so.
So here we go. So now I've added a nice dark blue that is the same hue.
I like it.
This blue, but it really adds some depth. It does give you, I need more fingers. Put it in front there.
Now it's giving more like 70s.
More what?
70s, I think.
A little bit, yeah. But then I could, if I don't like that, I could take out this olive green.
Yep.
And maybe add another, I don't know, yellow or something.
Yeah.
So that's one way to
or maybe
add
more
colors.
neutrals, right? Because that palette has a lot of colors.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
maybe if we added some gray or some beige, it would.
Yeah. So this is.
I don't know what the right word is. What would it do if we added more beige or gray or whatever?
Let's find out. That one's very.
Andrea's the one with the art training, not me.
And the nice thing about this color deck, so they do also have neutrals that are not, well, they have several neutrals, but so this is a brown tint number 2 with white added to it. So on the back here, it shows me.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. The ones that have that on the back. Which ones have that on the back and which ones have the color wheel?
Just the neutrals. So these are just the
neutrals.
Oh,
okay.
This is pure white. So no color, pure white. It's at the bottom of the grayscale here. So and then the next darkest one is 6. So this just has a little bit of white. This is the next one. So
yeah, and on a screen, those are almost not that different on a screen, but in real life, they're actually different, right?
But you can see how they do get progressively darker. So that's giving you your steps all the way to pure black. But they also do it with browns, and they have browns with yellow added, red added, or blue added. So you get like some warmer browns and some more neutrally less warm browns. This one, yeah, this has blue, so it's a little bit of a purple cast. Actually,
yeah, that's an odd color.
Pretty good in here.
It does, yeah. What do they call that color? Do they have names on the color deck?
These do not have. Well, they do. It's just brown with blue cast. So they do have golden yellow, turquoise, yellow orange, chartreuse. So your basic umbrella names.
Ooh, let me see the chartreuse that they have.
It was this one.
And that's pretty chartreuse. So the reason that happened, by the way, is because
this is also chartreuse.
That one just says chartreuse too?
Well, because they're all the same shade or the same hue, just different shades.
Okay. The reason I got excited about the idea of chartreuse is because Andrea and I had a hilarious conversation like a month and a half ago about what color is chartreuse. And when I told the members of our Stitch Lab, which is our monthly like challenge each other group, as a group, we come up with the theme for each month's challenge and we vote and we decide, right? There's no curriculum or anything like that. So I told them the story about Andrea and I spending like 20 minutes trying to decide which color chartreuse really is. And then we decided this month's challenge is chartreuse. So I can't wait to see what people make with that prompt because yeah, look at all those colors.
Yeah. So these are all chartreuse. This is the pure, and then everything else is a tint or a shade.
Right.
Of that same hue.
And remind me again, which one is a tint and which one is a shade?
A tint is with white added, so a pastel, and a shade is with black added.
Okay.
So yeah, so you get all of that in here.
And when people say value, are they referring to tint or shade or both?
Both. So the value is the lightness or darkness of a color.
Okay.
Although it's not exactly specifically relative. So if I were to pull out the pure this. Well, these two are pure. Those are not exactly the same value. So these are both the pure hues. But I would say that this one has a slightly darker value.
Oh, we need to take a picture of it in black and white.
Maybe not. But to my naked eye, it does look darker.
Yeah.
So that's, now I have a big mess of colored cards on my table, which honestly,
which is your favorite thing ever anyway.
Exactly. I don't really mind that. I do need to put them back in order though. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing to show you about this, just as like proof, I guess, that it works. This is one of Alison Glass's, the Field Day is the name of this pattern. And Alison Glass is one of those designers that's really good with color. And so I've pulled out.
And she has a unique palette she works with.
She does, yeah. It's not just your normal like rainbow palette. So let's see. So these are some of the, oh, they're actually one of the greens. I lost my green. I think it was this one. So this obviously is going to be the most used the most. And then these are some of the other colors in this print. And if
so
I
you literally just held the fabric and held the cards up until you found the matches?
Okay. Yes, exactly. So I went through and held them up, and in my light, it matches in real life. But then, so when I go to look on the back of this card to see what its complements are and its triadic and all that kind of stuff, it is, so this one says 24, 8, and 16. So this is 16. Let's see, 24, 8. Well, this is 7, so that's close to 8. And what was the other one? 24.
When you explain it like this, is very confusing.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so 24 is actually in here. In this too, I just lost the card because it was in something else also. So these three are basically the triadic, which are colors that are in here. So that's just an example of how kind of knowing how that works can be helpful. I seriously doubt that Alison Glass has a color wheel and is pulling out the triadic colors when she's picking colors for her fabric. It's something I think a lot of designers and people that work with color do intuitively. Right. But that just goes to show you that this technique can work.
Yeah. So in the case of using the color deck with print, do you think that picking out like one color in a print and finding the color in the color deck and then flipping it to the back to find things that go with it would be a way you could use that?
You could use it that way. Not every print is going to follow that formula. Like I said, like this color palette doesn't follow that formula, but a lot of them will. Like I saw a person from CNT, that CNT is the publisher of the deck, doing a demo at a recent show, and she used 3 or 4 fabrics that some of the manufacturers that were showing fabric had just given her. So she hadn't seen them before, she didn't plan it, and she was able to pull out matches that all complemented each other. So a lot of times it does work, even if it wasn't necessarily planned that way. So it is, I think it is something, intuitive.
Yeah, because sometimes, like if you're looking at a print, it's like relatively easy to pick one of the colors that's in the print, but it's pretty hard to pick an additional color that isn't in the print that is going to complement it and not fight against it, which I think a lot of us end up picking white or gray or, like we don't know what to pick. So we pick a neutral.
And like, that is something I've told people forever is, pick a fabric that you like that has a lot of colors in it, and then just pick those colors to go with it.
But you could pick like that color and then go lighter, or pick that color and go darker, right?
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't have one of those decks, but I think I need to get one because that idea of these colors are related in this way, and that's why they're going to work together. That's a really cool
and you can
tool.
So this gives you actually I can tell you. So it also comes with a chart.
Oh, I didn't even know it had that. Let me see.
Yes, which is very helpful. So there's a little color wheel at the bottom that tells you the number of each of the hues. So 16 was the magenta I was looking at. So that's 16 is down here. And then you can see what's across from it, what's diagonal, triadic, that kind of thing. And then the hues themselves are up at the top. So 16 is this one, this magenta. And then it shows you what the other cards are. So these are tints. The top two are tints. The bottom three are shades. What's the middle one? Oh, tones. So the top two are tones. No. The top two are tints. They have white added. The middle two are tones that have gray added. And then the bottom two are shades that have black added. So you're getting 6 variations of that hue for every hue, every color that they give you. So that's a little bit more than the 3 that you get here. So you can expand on it a little bit more with the extra hues and tints. And
yeah, I think combining the 2 decks is like the best possible option.
I think so
because
too.
They work slightly different, but they really work together.
Yes. And the percentages thing again is, because this is not all the same percentage. There's
Right.
definitely colors you're getting a lot more of than others, and that affects the overall look. And
Yes.
you can make those adjustments with these cards, whereas you can't really do that very well with these cards.
Yeah, that's
You
cool.
could with the colored pencils, or something like that, if you were incorporating that on one of these printouts. But if you don't want to do that extra work, these cards make it pretty easy too.
Yeah, I like that idea. I feel like my biggest problem with either of these is going to be that I don't put anything back.
Right. It does help to have them in order, as you could tell. Then you can just flip right to the one you're looking for instead of going through all 200 and however many there are.
Yeah. It's like my particular kind of ADD is the kind where I don't put anything back. It's like, and then I'm upset when I go to look for it the next time because there's only 3 things where there's supposed to be 300 of them.
Yeah, don't let your 7-year-old play with these.
Oh yeah, that
would be my advice. They're very they're attracted, but don't let them play unless they're going to be willing to put them back in order.
Did she like the color deck or the color box better?
Oh, she never saw the color deck.
Oh, okay.
Or sorry, she never saw the color box.
Sorry, color cube is what it's called.
Cube, whatever. She saw these. This is one she saw.
Yeah.
And played with and got all out of order.
And Hazel loves color. We're talking about Andrew's daughter, so
she does.
Yeah. Ooh, I wonder if I should get one for my niece. My niece Emma is really into art and colors and drawing, and
yeah, that could be cool.
She probably would have fun with it.
I mean, it's fun. Like, I'm certainly not a child, and I have fun with it.
Well, it's not meant to be a child's story.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. All right. So were you going to say something else?
Well, I was just going to say, for those of you that don't already have one of these, check your emails tomorrow, because we are actually going to be giving away one deck. So
is it one or two that we have to give away?
Just one.
Okay. So you should join our email list if you're not on the email list yet. I will put the URL to sign up on our website in the chat, which I can't imagine anybody who's watching us live isn't on our email list, but just in case, this is the link in the comments for you to sign up for our email list.
Information will go out tomorrow.
Tomorrow, we're sending an email out with a link to sign up for the giveaway, and we'll wait a week to collect signups, and then in a week we'll randomly pick one of the people who signed up. You can only sign up once. Don't try to cheat. You only sign up once. And you sign up by joining our email list. So an email goes out tomorrow with a link that you follow to sign up for the giveaway. And then in a week, we'll announce the giveaway winner, and we'll mail you your own color deck. Did we decide if we're going to let people join from international?
I would say no, because it's probably going to be very expensive to ship.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, because this is really heavy, so only American addresses.
Yeah.
If you have one of those like forwarders, we can ship to that.
Yes.
As long as it's in the US. Okay. Oh, Kathy says, oops, I already ordered. Well, Kathy, if you win if you win a second one, you can gift it to your favorite quilting buddy. I think they would love that.
And we only have one to give away. So it's, I don't know what the odds, it depends on how many people enter, but
yeah, exactly. Your odds are, we have no idea what your odds are.
Right.
Andrew, we've had 2 people in the comments say, please bring back Stump Andrea, because this live reminded them of Stump Andrea.
I miss doing them myself.
I do too.
We haven't figured out the logistics of it quite yet.
Everything is just so crazy
about it. We haven't forgotten.
Yeah. We also have a lot less inventory than we used to have, especially in non-solids. We have a ton more solids than we used to have, but like the walking around the store and picking stuff out, because we're not a physical store anymore, we don't have as much stuff now. So it might be a little bit more boring now.
The lighting is nowhere near as good as it was in the store.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
It's every day I get more and more frustrated by the lighting here. So it's probably time.
Yeah. Have you found an electrician yet?
I mean, I could. That's a different story. We don't need to go into that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. I will put the other QR code in case you missed that one before, the Color Cube one. This is the tool that we showed first, the one that has those colorway ideas with the colors pulled out of it. And then if you combine the two, then you can create your own variations and bigger. Oh, somebody just said they just got their indigo quilt kit. Yay.
Yay. And that's back in stock now. We were out.
I was about to ask you that, if that fabric came back. Yep.
It is back in stock. So if you missed those, you can now get them. But I don't have a ton of fabric, so don't wait too long.
Yeah. So one of the hardest things about having a store like ours is that we'll launch something like the Indiglo kit uses, what is it, like 12 prints or whatever it is, 10 prints.
Yeah.
And it uses like a smallish amount of each of those 12 or 10 or whatever it is. And then we also sell that same fabric in yardage. And somebody will launch a kit like that. And then for some reason, it always seems like somebody orders 12 yards of one of the fabrics that's in it. And then we can't make any more kits. So it's like a whack-a-mole. Like we have a kit, but then we're out of one of the prints, and then it's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's always a lot to keep up with, but we're trying our best.
Yeah. So it's back in stock. And if you don't know, we have that button on our website. Whenever you're at a product that is sold out, there's a little link that says notify me. You just put in your email address and you get put on a list that says, I am interested in this product. When it's back in stock, send me an email. So that way you don't have to keep like refreshing the page to see when it's back in stock.
The best thing to do.
Yeah. All right.
And well, we also get a report of the number of people that have requested things. So if we get a lot of requests for something, we're more.
Yeah. So now we're giving you all the behind the scenes information now, right? So when you sign up for one of those notification things, what it does in those behind the scenes is it tells us how many people want each individual thing that is out of stock. So, do we have any housekeeping that we maybe need to remind people of?
Stash Society just went out this morning. So those are on the way.
Sweet.
We did add, Yvette mentioned earlier that we have a color journey. We actually just added a new color journey for 2024.
Right, a new
session.
session.
September. So normally we start them in January. But so if you wanted to join, you'd have to wait until January. But that's one of the things we've been getting a lot of requests for. So we decided to start a new session. It's going to be the same journey, same book, same process, same challenges, just starting in September. So those of you that missed the last one or don't want to wait till the next one, you can sign up right now, and we'll start that one at the first Thursday. It'll always be on the first Thursday of the month, starting in September.
So signups close like first week in August, I think we said it was going to be.
I don't remember, but something like that.
Yeah. So there's still time. I put the link to that color journey sign up in the comments. So click on through, you'll see all the information, those meetings are recorded. We meet the first Thursday of every month, like Andrea said, at 6 p.m. But we do record those meetings. So if you can't make that time period, you can always rewatch it later.
Yes.
Somebody's asking what's in the rainbow fat quarter bundle, but I'm not really sure what she's referring to.
I'm not sure either. I don't see that one. I hear a cat cry though.
That's my cat crying, of
For a
course.
second, I thought I was imagining it.
Because your own cat cries so much at your house?
I'm not even there. How do I hear them crying?
She's been crying so much lately.
She missed the puppies.
There's no way she misses the puppies. Okay, so I just wrote back to the person who asked that question. I guess maybe we're done. We'll be back next week.
That covered it. That was a pretty in-depth one. So
yeah, and like all this talking about this thing just makes me want to play with this even more. So I'm gonna go like, yeah. Yep. Next week we'll be back. We will be back with another Tuesday Live, same time, same place, 6:30 on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, assuming I can get it to work next week, which it did work this week. It doesn't always work. So I can't promise that it will be on Instagram next time. And we have something kind of cool to talk about next week. And we actually know what it is. Can you believe it? We'll see you next week. And if you have any questions, you can always email us. It's info@gothamquilts.com. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.